lots of places in America are struggling with the dark spots there with with housing affordability. We are here too in Maine. One of the things I want to just mention about this study is that it's a little different from any other housing study I've ever seen. And that is because it is both a housing study and an economic study. It really, as you can see in number 1 there, the idea is just as we would think about it. We have X number of households, Y number of units. What's the difference between those two things? The second part of it, though, what they were looking at is if we filled all the jobs that we have available right now, if our economy was actually functioning at full throttle, those are the units that we would need. It's a combination of those two things. So as we keep going through this, and as you read this kind of on your own, what you'll see is that HRNA just sort of walked through these various drivers of trends that have made things more difficult, including in migration. This is one of the more interesting pieces, that over the 5 years in this study here, we saw a net decline in rental units. That's not because we aren't trying on the rent restricted side. That part has been gaining traction, but the other housing, rental housing, has not. There's a lot in here around vacant homes that is interesting to look at, and purchasing capacity on the home ownership and rental side. But kind of getting to the punchline of this study is that Maine needs another 38,500 additional homes to create housing availability for all Mainers, and again, and to attract and retain workers to support the existing economy. I think if you're looking just at the kind of unit deficit, it's something like 12 or 13,000 out of that 38,500. The other kind of punchline from this study is, as we look out to 2030 and our demographic change and population growth estimates, we'll need beyond that 38,500 another 40-something thousand additional units here in Maine. And so we have a lot of work to do. There's some other things attached to my slides here that I just included for folks to go through separately, just as I thought it would be a good resource. I want to kind of just talk through some of the approaches that we've been using within the administration. And I will say the single highest priority for the Mills administration in dealing with this crisis is adding supply. That is the thing we are most focused on. We want to better meet demand and improve affordability. We have focused on increasing supply in 2 specific ways. One is unprecedented investments in programs that work, housing development programs that work. I'm not sure if the governor said this, but from 2000 to 2018, Maine invested a total of $65 million in affordable housing production. Since she took office, that number is about $285 million. There's been investments through general obligation bonds, refinancing revenue bonds, the creation of a new state housing tax credit that the governor mentioned, the allocation of tens of millions of ARPA funds, allocation of general fund dollars. Various approaches have been used to try to add as many units as we can. And those investments have led to, as the governor mentioned, the largest pipeline of housing in Maine housing's history. Those units are providing new affordable options for people across the state to rent and own. And in a little over a year, it will include the new Housing First initiative that can help make Maine the first state in the country to end chronic homelessness. And I will just call out for municipalities interested in this, who are struggling with homelessness in your municipality, I encourage you to talk with us and with Maine Housing about Housing First. It is a solution. I know shelters are hard. This is a solution, and it works well, and I want to give a shout out to Avesta and Preble Street for the success that Housing First. So besides these investments in production programs that work, the other way that we're trying to increase housing supply is through zoning and land use. And I think our understanding here is that we know that the shortfall we're dealing with now is too big for us to handle solely with affordable housing development programs. The per unit cost of those programs is simply too high. Maine does not have the money to do that as its only approach. And so the idea with zoning and land use in the big picture really is just about helping the private market have a bigger role in addressing this problem. That's what it's all about. We know folks here are very familiar with LD 2003, LD 1706 from this legislature too. Beyond passing that law, though, and beyond passing any law, it becomes really important to implement it well, to operationalize it. Without that piece, what's the point? And I guess I just want to call out, because they're here right now, both those elements, passing a bill like this. Ryan, obviously when he was speaker, he was the quarterback of that effort. He made that happen at the legislature, and we're so grateful to him for that. In addition to that, when we're talking about implementation through the Housing Opportunity Program, that is, at DECD, that is the work of technical assistance, grants every year, $2.5 million in grants every year to municipalities and regional organizations. That work is being done by Hillary Gove and Ben Averill, who I hope will stand up here, and I know you're mad at me right now, but if you wouldn't mind standing up. If folks here in the room don't know Hillary and Ben, I encourage you to get to know them. They are really good at what they do, and landing the plane of LD 2003 is not easy. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of working with municipalities. It seems to be going pretty well in the end here, but Hillary and Ben are a huge part of that, and I want to say thank you to both of you for the great work you've done. I want to just end here with a few things that are happening right now that folks might be interested in. The supplemental budget is obviously being deliberated upon right now by the legislature. The governor does have in that supplemental budget request another $10 million for the affordable home ownership program that's at Maine Housing, along with $16 million in emergency housing relief funds, because we know that the most painful consequence of an undersupply of housing is homelessness. And the administration is not going to leave anyone behind. Also in the supplemental budget, there is a reorganization of existing state programs into a standalone office that would provide more robust and coordinated planning support, technical assistance, and funding opportunities that local communities need. This new office, known as the Office of Community Affairs, if approved by the legislature, would be something of a one-stop shop for municipalities that right now maybe have to work with multiple departments, and trying to get information out of the state maybe is more painful than it needs to be. The whole point of the Office of Community Affairs is to bring a lot of that work into one place. The last thing I want to mention is that HRNA that helped us with this housing needs study is working with us on the launch of a new dashboard that's going to have a broad array of housing and economic and demographic data that's going to be just updated over time as that data itself is updated for the whole state. The purpose of it is to help communities, housing organizations, and the public assess trends, compare geographies, and inform housing goals. That will go live next month. I am going to stop there. And I think turn it back to Jeff for a little bit. But thank you all very much, and thank you for the invitation.